I just bought this Patek Aquanaut 5167A, but before I show it to you, let me take you back to 1997, the year we saw Bill Clinton begin his second term as United States President, and the tragic death of Princess Diana, and the birth of the Patek Philippe Aquanaut. So people say that the Aquanaut is the perfect blend of sporty and timeless sophistication, and that was exactly what Patek's intentions were back in 1997. They wanted to put out a watch that appealed to a younger audience and so was more trendy and sporty. But interestingly, 1 year before the Aquanaut was first released, Patek put out kind of like an in-between model, which was the 5060S. And this model kind of looked like the Nautilus. It was kind of like an in-between a Nautilus and an Aquanaut. This watch was a gold case, leather strap, and little bits of what the Aquanaut would end up looking like. And all of this was 20 years after the Nautilus was released. But what Patek did next would change the watch industry forever. In 1997, the first ever Aquanaut that was put out was a steel watch, and it was a smaller case, it was on a rubber strap. The dial was like a grenade pattern with large numbers to give it that sporty feel. It was a more rugged, durable, wearable watch that would appeal to a wider audience, more sporty and younger. And actually, the price point is interesting as well, because it was only at the time $5,000, which that wasn't actually too bad. It was, even still now, the entry-level price. So the 5060A was born, and boy did it impact the watch market forever. So you might be wondering why I am so interested in the Aquanaut in this video and why I'm talking about the history of the first ever Aquanaut. Well, I'm on the way now to actually buy a 5167A, so the modern Patek Aquanaut. So I'm meeting a local guy, and if everything is as he said the watch is, I will be purchasing it. So yeah, very excited actually. It's a really good watch. We're in downtown Dubai. I don't know if you can see the Burj Khalifa or not. It's just there. We're looking at a flat to rent here, maybe long term, maybe 12 months. So we need to look at that, and then we're gonna go to my office and buy this Patek. And I was thinking about Patek, right? It's believed that 60,000 Patek Philippe watches are made every year. I think that's like quite widely known. That's for global distribution, 60,000 for all their watches. So with Aquanaut, you'd probably say, I don't know, 5 to 10% are probably Aquanauts. Let's say 4,000 Aquanauts are made out of their whole 60,000 watches. And you've got the 5167A, 5168, 5164, all the ladies' watches as well. If you go off what the website says, there's 19 different Aquanauts, right? If you do 4,000 divided by 19 or by 20 to make it easier, that's 200 units per model. I know this is like bro math, like this is completely like not gonna be accurate at all, but if you go off like 200 of each watch, so does that really mean that 200 5167As are made? I'd say because it's a more popular watch that more are probably made. So even if you say 400 Aquanauts, 400 steel 5167As are made every year. That means if you go off how many stores that Patek have globally, which is 400, that would be one steel Aquanaut per store globally, which I'm sure some get more than one per year and probably some get less, but it's a rare watch. It's a really difficult watch to get. You might wonder why there would be such limited Aquanauts on the market, and it's not like Patek are doing this deliberately. In fact, because Patek's testing and creating design and building processes are so rigorous, the months that it takes just means that they can't put out as many as they probably would want or you would expect them to be doing. So Patek aren't deliberately reducing the number of Aquanauts that are produced. It's a result of their processes, their high standards, their high quality rules, and their controls that they have in place in their headquarters. It's the way it is. And in turn, this just creates such a long waiting list that is years and years long if you believe in a wait list. And this creates scarcity, this creates demand, and this pushes the price up, which I'll probably talk about in a little bit. Okay, here is the Patek Aquanaut that I've just purchased. And just as a bit of a side note, this is the new office here in Dubai. So this is going to be my HQ. This is where I'm going to come, do all my deals, buying and selling watches. You guys are of course welcome anytime to come. Can't really do an office tour yet because there's nothing in here other than a chair and a desk. But at some point I will be renovating and making this a very warm and interesting place for you guys to visit. But anyway, the watch is here. I'm actually going to show you the watch a little bit later on when I'm back home. But I do want to talk about the value of a watch. So I talked about like the limited production and why Patek don't put out loads of Aquanauts and the reasons behind that. Like I said, I don't think that's deliberate from Patek, but the value of a watch, when there's not many of them and a lot of people want it, the price is going to go up. And that's exactly what happens in this case with the Aquanaut. Now, another thing other than scarcity, so low production levels, is hype. You probably remember back in 2021, 2022, the hype around watches in general went absolutely through the roof. People were throwing a lot of money into the watch market because they wanted to make some money. They had cash, as reserve in the bank, and they wanted to put it into an asset. And watches were going up, and I think that's partly because of COVID and everyone was at home. There was hype around watches in general, and that's the case for the Aquanaut. There was a lot of hype around this watch in particular. The price was 2-3 times the retail price on the grey market. That's very appealing for any investor, even if you don't know watches. And what happened, right? So the bubble burst, I think it was late 2022, early 2023, prices came down. But what's interesting with this steel 5167A Aquanaut, price after the bubble burst is still higher than what it was before the bubble started to blow up, if that makes sense, which shows that the general trend, I should say, of the value going up over time is still correlating in an upwards direction. So if you remove the anomaly of 2021, 2022, the price has still gone up of this watch, which proves that it's well loved, it's very popular, it's in demand, and a product can't be as loved as much as this if the product isn't very, very good. And that's what I want to talk about next when I get home. So what has actually changed with the 5167A, the Aquanaut, since it was first released in 1997? Well, the grenade dial pattern has been changed into a more globe-looking style. And it's more of a shiny grey in the center of the dial, going out to a darker black to the edges. This has white gold numbers, white gold hands, both with a luminescent coating. The case size has got bigger. This is around 40 millimeters versus the first ever Aquanaut, which was around 35 millimeters. The thickness is 8.3, which means that when you wear it on the wrist, it has an amazing kind of wearability to it, where it will fit perfectly under a long sleeve t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt. Also, the rubber strap is now integrated into the case with the modern Aquanaut. It is a more compact, well-rounded, more aesthetic look. And the pattern on the rubber strap is also changed. It looks more streamlined and sporty, I guess, with the most current movement being a 26330SC with a power reserve from 35 to 40 hours. You might also be wondering, what would you do if you get this watch on the pre-owned market and it's either too big or too small? Well, there's two things you can do in this situation. If it's too big, this is probably the easiest solution of the two. You can simply just get it cut down to fit your wrist size perfectly. Now, the best way to do this is to get someone else to do it instead of yourself, because if you get it wrong, you can't go back, you can't make the strap smaller. Once you've cut too much, that's it done. So I would advise here, you've kind of got little ridges. I would go one ridge at a time, do it incrementally so that you get the right size. And like I said, definitely take it to someone else, because you're gonna have to actually remove the strap from the buckle. And if it's too small, you'll have to get yourself a brand new Patek rubber strap. You can buy these from Patek. You can have these ordered if they don't have any in the store, or you can buy them on the grey market from, I don't know, some people that might have them spare. But basically, you'll have to get these integrated back into the case and attached to the buckle, but obviously you'll have to have these cut first, and you basically just repeat the previous process that I was talking about, where you have them incrementally cut down to fit you perfectly. And this is interesting because it's different to how Rolex will do it. For example, they will have specific sized rubber straps for their Oyster Flex watches. So for the Yachtmaster Oyster Flex, as an example, you would have an E and an F strap size, which is basically, they just name a different size, a different letter. So I think, but also the Yachtmaster has the glide lock as well, which enables about an inch of adjustment, whereas the Aquanaut does not have that. However, once you get this to the perfect size of your wrist, it is probably, in my opinion, one of the most comfortable watches to wear. And I will say it, if you're looking for a watch that kind of signals that you've got plenty of more watches back home, and that you're a successful guy, and that you know what you're talking about, this is the Stealth Wealth. It's not the most expensive Patek that you can buy, as we've talked about in the video, but people will know that you know your stuff, because after all, this watch is simply beautiful, it's very close to perfection. And I would hope so, as it's taken 28 years to get to this point. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.